Most of you know we also have a campus in Abu Dhabi in a beautiful Norman Foster design building. We have a wonderful team running that program. Gaye Heading is our managing director. Gaye is both a Grammy and Latin Grammy winner. And our artistic director is Mesa Kara, who's a beautiful, brilliant singer. You've probably heard her music in many, many different contexts. And today I'm bringing you one of our more famous young Berklee alums, Charlie Puth. Charlie, say hello to everybody.
Hello, everybody.
Charlie was at Berklee we were figuring out maybe just 6 or 7 years ago, and he's had an amazing career, more amazing than I even knew when I saw it all in one place. He exploded onto the scene with this song, See You Again, that he and Wiz Khalifa did in the one of the Fast and Furious movies. That song alone has had 7 billion streams. It's the #4 song on YouTube. It was #1 for a long time.
I think we just broke 5 billion hits yesterday, actually, which is we're still breaking records on it, which is pretty cool.
Absolutely. 5 billion streams. There are only 7 billion people on the planet. So what is wrong with these other 2 billion? They need to get busy.
We need to wake them up. We need to glue them to their phones is what we need to do. But I think we're doing all right.
And then my favorite record, Voice Notes, had a bunch of hits on it. Attention went 4 times platinum. How Long, 2 times platinum. Done For Me, all great songs. What I realized is what a good bass player and drummer you are, in addition to playing keyboards. Your bass lines are really amazing.
Thank you.
And 5 billion seems to be a lucky number because that record has had 5 billion streams. And Charlie also just did a remix of a song with a young country artist, Gabby Barrett, and that's become a big hit, which is a new territory for you. And the thing I've always been struck by, and this was true long before Charlie became a star, when he was a student, he had this posse of friends and they did fun projects together that were funny and musical. But since he's left Berklee, he's collaborating with John Perry, John Legend, Katy Perry, James Taylor, Elton John, Meghan Trainor, Selena Gomez. It's just impressive. And the thing I will say, knowing Charlie from the inside out, is not only is he really effective in this role of being a multifaceted music star, he is a great writer, a great producer, an excellent pianist. He can sing. I remember when I first met you, you were a little uncomfortable singing, and I said, get out there and sing more, man.
I was. I remember you telling me you got to sing more.
Yeah. And he's got engineering chops. You could be a comedian if you chose to be. So this guy has an amazing range of gifts. So Charlie, say hello to everybody. And
hello, everybody. I'm very, very happy to be here, and especially talking to you, Roger. I always love speaking to you.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to start by saying, because we're in Abu Dhabi, and Abu Dhabi has such a global, multicultural quality to it. Talk a little bit about how your music, where has it landed around the world, and what's been surprising to you in terms of where you've got an audience or a set of listeners that you wouldn't have guessed?
Well, I'll start by answering that by talking about my first trip to Shanghai. I had never back in 2015, I had never been to Asia. And I remember I had just started accumulating like a little bit of a outside of YouTube fan base. I had a mainly YouTube fan base, and See You Again had just come out. I was starting to run into people on the street. They were like, hey, you're that guy that sings that song, like with the eyebrow. Like, yes, it's me. Hello, how you doing? I'm going to eat my sandwich now. But when I went to Shanghai, I remember getting to my room and calling housekeeping, asking them for, I think soap or utensils or something, or a pen and paper, because I like to carry a pen and paper everywhere I go. And she answered the door, and it's like she saw 5 heads on somebody. She was like, hello. I'm like, is everything okay? And she was like, I can't believe, in broken English, I can't believe I have this opportunity to meet you right now. Can you sign this for me? I'm like, does she think my first instinct was, oh, she must think I'm somebody else. She must be confused, like I'm an actor or something like that. And then it started happening again, and I would go out to eat, and then all of the the staff at the restaurant would be excited to see me. I'm like, I was with my dad. I just brought my dad with me. I was like, I was 23. I was like, why are they excited to see me? And then I heard them singing my song outside of my hotel room. And there was something interesting about the way they were singing See You Again. So See You Again. Let me turn this little, I conveniently have a little piano here. The melody. They were singing along the melody perfectly, but kind of messing up the lyrics, getting the title right, because English not being their first language, that's okay. But they were getting the melody perfect. And then I came back to the United States. More people in the United States knew the song. And then I remember going to Denmark like a month later, and they were doing the same thing that my Chinese fans were doing. They were singing the melody perfect. They were just starting to get the lyrics because they were just starting to hear the song at the dawn of Spotify and everything. At the time, we broke a record, 3 million plays in a day. That gets shattered by everything now. But it kind of dawned on me that the melody is the most important thing for non-English speaking music avid lovers and listeners. And from that point on, when See You Again came out, I made sure, I told myself, whatever I do, melody is always going to be the focal point, the core of everything. Lyrics obviously very important, the phrase and the catchphrase of the song rather being very catchy, but the melody, if you can play it on a violin, if you can play it on a cello, if you can play it on the clarinet, if you can take all the production out, all the drums out, all the glitz and glam of it all, and just play the melody, that's the most important thing. And that's what I realized is going to take my music around the world, is the melody.
Interesting thought. I think that's absolutely true. And I think also you were fortunate that this hit was propelled by this movie. And one thing about action movies that we've learned is they're popular in other parts of the world because some of the subtle nuances of language and culture get lost. But car chases and fight scenes,
so fun to watch.
Game of Thrones translates in every culture in some ways. So what else have you learned? What else are you thinking about a global audience and how you reach them? And once pandemic is behind us, will you tour more internationally, or will you do some international collaborations?
I would love to do more. I've been to France and collaborated with local artists there. This wonderful singer named Luann. I went sang Imagine on RTL Late Night, which is a very popular show in France. That was very, very fun to do that. I write. It's no coincidence that I've written most of my hits abroad, because I'm so inspired by all of these different cultures, watching how people eat, how people talk, how people carry themselves, and kind of comparing it to how I do it. And to be a songwriter, if anyone, whoever's a songwriter in here right now, you're usually a pretty empathetic person, and empathetic people can kind of read the room very well. We're very good at reading the room, all of us in here. And I would go to a restaurant and a melody would pop in my head, just from just like the way the fork felt. It's hard to explain, but it's just such a strong dichotomy from like going out to eat somewhere here in Los Angeles to going out to eat in Tokyo, where the best sushi restaurants are in hotels that like don't even have signs. And then you start to think, why does it not have a sign? And then you think, the sign was an important song in 1995, produced by Dennis Pop and Max Martin. I wonder if what other songs like have that, and then your brain starts to, I don't know. You just gotta let your brain free flow.
That song was impossible not to like. Even people who tell you they hate that song are lying.
No, that's everybody's guilty pleasure. It has bounce, and that was a very international song too, because it had some bounce to it. Everybody at the end of the day wants to move. Everybody wants to dance and have fun. Even in a global pandemic, you look forward to dancing and having fun. Even if you don't know how to dance, dancing is that one thing that everybody will, whatever your version of it is, it's a way of social interaction. Everybody wants to socially interact.
I think what that song also has, which Sting and other people understood, is the power of that reggae bass line kind of feel. And so many songs have that. Some of your stuff has a little bit of that. You know, your bass lines, I think, are one of your melodies are great, but those bass lines are killing.
I'm pulling up a bass sound right now. Everybody is always asking me who played the bass on Attention. That was me using this plugin right here called Trillion. This is in my little studio right now. And I'll tell you the exact, it was the retro 60s bass. And it just had, this one right here. And I was on a train in Tokyo. I don't know how well this is going to translate over Zoom, but when I had because it reminded me of like a disco, like a hot, what is that?
Yeah.
Like Donna
Summer. Hot stuff, baby, tonight.
The octave up was a very we should be dancing. That's what I thought of when I did that bass line, and it's no way like the same in a songwriting sense, but it just gave me that feeling.
Yeah. Give us a little more of that. That sounded so good.
So it goes here. Let me point the camera this way because the speakers will catch up better. So it's so I wish I could play bass, and I have like my little mini Moog over there. I'm obsessed with low end coming from a hip hop background. So I played piano, which is kind of takes up the top register of things. So I always wondered what it was like to really focus on melody in the low end, like 32 hertz and to 80 hertz. How much melody can you get away with without it overlapping with the other melody? Because there's a lot of melody in this. So as a result of that, you have to make your high-end melody much simpler, but it all has to kind of perfectly fit in the pocket because there's two melodies going on at the same time.
It's a counter melody that works, and then you got a great groove that kind of locks the whole thing down. It's
like how Johann Sebastian Bach would write fugues in the 14th, 15th century.
Yeah,
I think. And there would be counterpart melody, and it would all just be catchy at the same time. I believe Bach was the first person to write catchy melodies in like a very easily digestible form for, at the time, popular music.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a good counter melody is a powerful thing, and bass players who can hear that, and that's, I think the bass players we love are the ones who get that. But I've just been very impressed by how, one thing I've also noticed about you, Charlie, is you have an encyclopedic memory of music from the past that you draw on just to inspire you. Like, what were some of the early influences that you grew up with before you were conscious of someday maybe wanting to be a working musician?
I remember hearing and living in Massachusetts for 4 years. This is appropriate, but I don't know how well this is going to sound right now. I'm going to drop the key.
It's very early where Charlie is in LA.
It'll go a little off key right now, but hopefully not. I remember hearing this song, the James Taylor "Shower the People." Went, you can play the game, you can act out the part, but you know it wasn't written for you. And I heard the no, I know it wasn't written, because usually you would go, no, it wasn't written for you, but you kind of follow the chords, but he stayed on that A flat, in this case an A flat. Even though it wasn't written for you. And I would hear that tension, and I'd be like, there's nowhere else to go except to resolve. And that was maybe the first, at like 7 years old, me kind of realizing, without a teacher telling me, that usually hit songs or just great songs are usually made with tension and release, and that happening constantly, because it's just so, it's kind of like, it's ASMR for music in a way. It's so satisfying. That's the best word to describe it. It's so satisfying when something is rubbing against a chord that you know is going to eventually resolve. So James Taylor playing the guitar like a piano player was very inspiring to me. And then going to Berkeley and being told about kind of avant-garde jazz artists and jazz groups like the Yellow Jackets, like the Spirit of the West, if anybody knows that. It's like a super cool record. There's tension and release all over in that. Bill Evans, But Beautiful, Emily, all these great jazz records, everything is kind of recycled into each other. And you listen to Chick Corea, God rest his soul, he just moved on. You listen to a record like Spain, and I heard that record and thought, wow, I can make a pop song off of Chick's melodies. And it's all based on tension and release. So it's endless amounts of artistry.
Some of Chick's songs have like 10 or 15 potential songs inside, but there's so many melodies going on.
I'm not even going to pretend I know how to play Spain correctly right now, but just pretend I do.
Hey, Charlie, I wanted to tell you something we're doing in Abu Dhabi. We've got a program we're calling the Pearl Program.
Oh.
Which is performance, artistry, and leadership, where we're going to bring some great musicians, up-and-coming musicians from around the Middle East, North Africa, and within the United Arab Emirates, help them write, record a 3-song EP, and try to help them develop the social media marketing skills and other tools to get their music out to the world. So,
yeah.
Your thoughts, like when you were ahead of the curve, but if you were a young artist, what would be some of the things you'd want to get out of a program like that?
I would hope someone would tell me on whatever platform it is, if it's Spotify, if it's TikTok, if it's YouTube, it would be to chase great. Jimmy Iovine always told me to chase great. When I was signed to Interscope very briefly, I remember him that was one of the first things that he told me. And whether great is on TikTok, whether great is on Spotify, if it's great and you're excited to play it for your friends, it's going to translate to the rest of the world. So if the prime focus right now is TikTok, don't try and make a TikTok. Make it, make it brief, make it concise, make it like appealing as possible, but make it something that if it's a song, if it's a snippet of a song, make sure it's something that if you have a neighbor, you're running over to their house and playing it for them, or you're playing it for your best friend. You're excited to show people in real life, because if the song's no good and you're like, it's all right, I have better stuff up my sleeve, make sure you show the better stuff up your sleeve, because as hot of a platform TikTok is, it's not gonna make your song you kind of are iffy about translate well. You got to be passionate about it.
Yeah. I do think that young artists, sometimes there's a certain kind of insecurity, and it makes them feel bad when they have to revise or rewrite or work or tweak, when in fact that's the very thing they need to do. Because the more you should
hear what We Don't Talk Anymore sounded like when I first made it. But I knew, I was confident in it, but the first demo, not good. But no one will ever hear that, by the way. But I knew it was good.
Yeah, I mean, you have to have that. It's a complicated thing. You have to have that deep confidence in yourself that you've got something important to say. But then you got to be hard enough on yourself to say, I'm not there yet. This can be better. Let me keep at it. And I do think that some people, especially some of the more jazz-oriented people at Berkeley, I think misunderstand how difficult it is to write a brilliant popular music hit.
Well, it's all about, I made my career off of sneaking jazz into pop music, but unless you want to make like a smooth jazz like pop record, which you totally can. I still listen to those. They're great, and there's an entire channel on Sirius dedicated to those. There's a whole career in that as well. But if you want to make pop music and sneak in, you know, the like, she said, boy, tell me honestly, was he real or just for sure? Those are all R&B jazz-ish chords that I learned at Berkeley. That sound, but like it's all the sound choice. Like I didn't use it's a trade-off. So if you don't want it to sound like a complete jazz record, instead of this sound, you save that for the live coffee house version. You do a synth sound instead of that.
Well, I think that's part of your genius. That's another part of tension and release. If you do a pure jazz record in the pop world, that would just be tension, tension. Mm-hmm. But if you put a little bit of it in and resolve it back to very familiar things, then that is a form of tension and release.
Listen, jazz in pop music has never been more relevant. You go on TikTok, you hear all, I don't know the name of the song, I just always hear it on TikTok. 251. I mean, kids on TikTok don't know what 251s are, but we do.
Yeah, and I think that the judicious knowledge of when to use that and when not to. I mean, I was talking to someone the other day about John Mayer, another one of our.
I just spoke to him last night. He has an amazing album that he's working on.
That guy is so talented, and I was listening to his first record again, and thinking, how does he at such a young age, with so many guitar chops, know not to show them all off? You know, like it's such maturity to not overwhelm us with everything he knows how to do, and instead give us something that is really appropriate for the song. And I think that's a hard thing for the kind of Berkeley student to do. Like I always felt if I had the chops of some of those Berkeley drummers, I would overplay everything because I just want to hear all those things, but it doesn't really serve the song. So how did you get the maturity to know when to use those things and when to hold back?
Just people's reactions. I remember I would burn, and you know, when people burn CDs and tapes, I would strategically place, I was in 7th grade, this was 2005, I would place a 50 Cent song right before an Eminem song because I knew kids in my school liked Eminem just a little bit more than 50 Cent than the kids in New York did. I was living in New Jersey. So I would leave track 5, which was like the hit song, like, because I bought Get Rich or Die Trying, which was an album by 50 Cent, and they saved track 5 for In the Club, which was the big hit at the time. So I wanted to make a mixtape where track 5 was the big hit. And I knew that at this party I was going to, all my friends were going to go crazy when they heard track 5. You have to be going again, saying empathetic to people's feelings and kind of listening patterns. John Mayer is smart where he knows that not everybody's going to understand. I want to run, I want to scream at top of my lungs. So he doesn't do the electric piano. He gets John Alasia to put like this, at the time, like kind of current, like drum Dave Matthews groove, which was what everybody was listening to in 2001, and couple in with like a guitar, a bright acoustic guitar, which is very, very Ryan Cabrera at the time pop energy, which still holds up today. So it's just being empathetic and knowing that, you know, you want your music to be easily digestible by other people.
John said an interesting thing at a clinic he did at Berkeley. He said, you know, if you want to do esoteric music, more power to you. You know, I admire it. I love it. I grew up with it. But if you want to do music that lots of people listen to, there's a different set of rules. And you just have to be writing for the people you want to listen to it, as opposed to writing and doing what you want to do. And both are legitimate. You just need to decide which one is your path. Both are legitimate.
I want to one day just do a jazz record. But if after this record I'm working on, which is a pop record, I want to do, like, everybody, you know, makes fun of me, but I really love that Rod Stewart Great American Classics album. I thought that was brilliant when him and Clive put that together. And it's how I learned all those songs.
Yeah, well, I think I could easily see you doing sort of what John did with Herbie Hancock. I could see you doing a collaboration like that, where you show people some of the chops that we can hear in the music, but you're not really leading with that in the more popular oriented writing you're doing.
It's so fun to just sneak those little Berkeleyisms. I call them Berkeleyisms into your pop music.
Another one of those.
Mm-hmm. I have, well, I'll play. Listen to, this is how Attention originally sounded when I wrote it, the chorus.
You just want attention, you don't want more. Maybe you just like the thought of me with someone new. Yeah, you just want attention. I knew from the start. You're just making sure I'll never get it over you. Ooh, what are you doing to me? What are you doing? What are you doing to me? What are you doing, oh, baby?
Full of 2-5-1s and everything across the board. It's pleasing to my ear, but I'm just going to put it in the track ever so slightly. Yeah. And it's kill two birds with one stone. All the music heads are going to appreciate it. And all of the avid pop listeners are going to appreciate it as well.
Yeah. I fell in love with turmeric recently. And I kept putting more and more turmeric into things until I reached a point where there was too much of it.
Yeah, well, maybe for a good reason. You don't want to put too much of that in your. Exactly. I have turmeric creamer.
So there are spices that are good when you can barely taste them, but if they start to overwhelm the dish, then maybe too much.
Exactly.
So tell us what's next. What are you working on? What should we be looking forward to seeing coming out of the Charlie Puth camp?
I'm not going to go completely dark. I'm definitely in this next month focusing on like I want to make the best album. I want best like pop album at the Grammys. Mm-hmm. I've been nominated for best engineer. I've had many nominations, but I want to actually like win one this time. And that's not, we don't make music for the Grammys. It's just kind of a personal goal of mine. And I just want to make the best album ever that people coming out of this pandemic can be inspired by. And because if I weren't a musician, I would be a teacher. And that's the honest truth. I have so much respect for teachers, and I just like am enamored with how they are able to process and give information. And I hope that I'd be able to do that with a feasible piece of art, which is an album for me. So that's what I'm working on. I'm spending the next month and just really finalizing that.
Yeah. So will you be working with some session musicians, or will you be doing a lot of it yourself? What's your...
It's going to be all here. I got my NS10s for a flat mix. I got my Moog. I got all my keyboards. I'm kind of missing a couch right now, but that's going to eventually get here.
Those some drums you got back there?
That's my little album list of what or my mom took a picture of a Beatles picture and then framed it for me. That was very nice of her.
Well, we'll have to get you to come to Abu Dhabi someday and
oh my gosh,
the facility there. We're doing the Power Station recording studio in New York City now, where so many seminal records like Born in the USA and the
that's right
early stuff were done. So
I would love that.
Our goal is to be wherever you go in the world, and really, really so impressed with everything you've done, Charlie. And you've always been so generous to support Berkeley, and all your. I'm
inspired by students. I'm inspired by people who just are doing what they love right now, and not exactly focusing on having a hit record. They're just excited to play music for their friends, because that's how hits are made. Everybody watching now is the future. Actually, the future. It's like the limbs are relaxed. You're not trying to be anything right now except the best version of yourself. And when you're trying to be the best version of yourself, it translates in your music. And that's how new music is made.
Yeah. Well, take us out with a little something.
I think, how about a happy one?
Okay, good.
It's been a long day without you, my friend. And I'll tell you all about it when I see you again.
Get it?
You've come a long way from where we began. Oh, I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. When I see you again. Ooh, 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 when I see you again.
was high up for 8 a.m.
That was impressive for 8 a.m. People don't know
my
how hard
gosh.
that is to do. Hey, Charlie, let me just thank you again. And everyone out there listening, go check out Charlie Puth. He's got an amazing array of great music and more coming. We'll be in touch soon. And again, thanks so much for being part of this, Charlie.
Thank you, Roger. Thank you, everyone, for watching, too.
And to all the Puth family, I've gotten to know them all. Good luck to you all. We love you, too.